Good evening.
I don't know if many of you know me, but I'm going to introduce myself again. I'm a mother of three and a grandmother of 8. I started working at Amazon in 2020. I moved to Amazon because I was on my last job for 10 years. And I was working 12-hour shifts, 7 days, didn't have a social life, wasn't able to see my grandkids and spend time with family, so I made a decision after 10 years to leave. During that time, Amazon came into the city. And I thought it would be a good idea to go work for Amazon since they had flexible shifts. And then, I worked for Amazon, so why not go work for them, When I got there, I left the union organized facility, but when I got to Amazon, I always made this face. When I saw things, because I couldn't believe a company this big and this popular has this many issues so early on. They opened up in 2020, March. I started working in May 2020. My sister started before I did. But the first couple of days that I started working, I was limping inside and out the facility. And my sister told me it gets worse because she had already been there since March. I noticed that they had elevators around the facility, but they had one human elevator, and they had a lot of elevators around the facility for product. And the sign says no riders. And the one elevator that was in the facility says that only people who can't take stairs, that have some kind of ailment, can only take the elevator. The place is, I don't know how many football fields, huge, but they have 4 floors with long, not short stairs. They have like in hotels where you have small stairs. You have like 10 and 10 and 10, but they have the long stairs on the floor that goes all the way up, and they're red. Well, red is around like you see on the inside of a penitentiary. So, I was like, people were passing out. It was during COVID. I worked next to a young lady who was sick. Her daughter was sick. The daycare kept calling her about her baby being sick. The company had no remorse whether your child was sick or not. You're going to get pointed out. We're not going to give you any time. The girl cried. One day she cried and said, I got to leave. The daycare called me back, And during that time, I had called COVID twice. They were lying about people being sick until someone that you probably knew personally called you and said, I'm sick. Amazon was sending messages that we had a few people here. We had someone that was sick with COVID, and we'll let you know if you work next to them. They weren't doing that. We found out personally because some of the employees were calling. So they had that kid who was sick, so they had us exposed to different people because they wanted to get the packages out. During that time, I saw that their safety program was no good. They didn't care. It'll be 5 years for me since in May next year. 7 people has passed away in there. One guy went to safety to ask them about letting him go home. He didn't have any more time. Then he wanted to go home because he was sick. They told him that you can use your own time to go home. Other than that, you have to go back to work. He didn't know what to do, but he chose to go back to work. But he lost his life. Later on, about half an hour later, his coworker went looking for him, but someone who was cleaning found him in the bathroom dead. Another young lady fell out on the floor and hit her head on the stairway. If you work in the store department, you have to climb up like 3 or 4 stairs to put product in. But she slipped and fell on the stairway, and she hit her head and passed away. I complained about people being in the trucks, and it was hot. Not enough people in there helped unload the truck. Well, one young man was found dead and was gone at least 20 minutes before they knew he was in there dead. And they were allowed, so Amazon, you only get 2 30-minute breaks in a 11-hour shift, 10 and a half, 11-hour shift. And that's one of the things we were complaining about. People say, well, you get 30 minutes, and one of the things that were told to me by an attorney that Well, you know the company don't have to give you, especially state level, they don't have to give you any breaks. It's basically, they're just being nice.
An agreement between
Yeah.
the employer and the employee.
Yeah, so they didn't care, and we made a lot of complaints about it. The more work we did, they always wanted to compete with other companies. The more work we did, the more they want out of you. So that was causing a lot of stress, a lot of injuries, a lot of deaths in there, because people say, well, I hear that some of the work, it looks easy. Yeah, some of the work does look easy. Some of the work is a little easy, but it was the stress of making you go, go, go. They push you, and then you have to walk so long to get to break. They don't want to give you no extra 15 minutes. If you have to work over, you don't get an extra break for working over. There are so many injuries in there, and the turnaround rate is so high because of injuries, and some people were getting fired. Of course, they fired the young lady whose kid kept getting sick. A lot of people got fired without an opportunity to plead their case. A young man, probably fresh out of high school or college, got fired. And I was like, what's wrong? He was like, well, I think they're going to fire me because he walked up on the conveyor belt. Mind you, there are no signs that stated, do not go up under the conveyor belt, warning, he worked on the other side of the belt. And I said, well, where are the signs? Y'all don't have signs out. They didn't care. They didn't care if we told anybody, so I told them if they fire you, let me know before you leave, give me your phone number. But the next day I said, when he came in, I asked where was he, and they said, well, they fired him. And I would see them come and get badges and scan the badges and walk people out without it. And for me, I'm an advocate, especially for young people, if they're fresh out of high school or going into college, maybe they've never worked before. Our job is to train them and teach them, and especially in a job like that where you don't have signs that state don't do this. But they fired them, and Amazon is notorious for firing people, getting rid of them, and people with injuries, they kick you out. People who have died, you just sweep away, and they're just going to replace you. During our union campaign, during the 2020 is when we decided we need a union in this place right here. Me coming from a union company before I came there, I thought that unions were known all over. A lot of people said, what is a union? And I'm like, okay, I've been over there for 10 years. Y'all don't know what a union is? That my last job was union? No. So we had to do a lot of teaching, and we had to be strategic as well about how we move, because there were a lot of other people who were there from other companies that was a part of a union who knew that with the tactics and things that were going on in Amazon, it was detriment that we got a union in there because it was run, and I told them on several interviews, like a plantation. And one girl said she had been to prison before. She said that it looked like, that's why I get that, when she said on the inside of the facility, it looks like how it was inside the prison. Where the railings at the top with the long stairs, and each cell is square where each person is working in if you're not scanning back to back, if you stop scanning, the computer knows it. Or they're gonna see your message across your screen and say, you need to do this next time when you do that. They're watching you, cameras on you, they're watching every move that you make. If you stop to go to the restroom, your time is ticking like that. They watch you from the time you come in the door. When you scan, they watch you when you go to the restroom. The restroom over there could be full because it only has 2 stalls in it. You have to keep walking around to find the restroom. They have no remorse. Whether you want, women having their issues or you're sick and you need to be in the restroom longer than a normal, restroom break. They think that you're supposed to hold it until you go to break. How can you do that? We don't have control to tell our bodies when and when not to operate when it comes down to having to use the restroom. So we fought that battle with trying to form a union in 2021, but it failed because they ran a tactic of union busting, brought in people, paid big money to, I call it scare tactic and confusion. Because a lot of people backed up, they know, okay, well, they said this is going to happen, that is going to happen. So we had to do a lot of educating. A lot of people quit, they got fired, a lot of people, probably a lot of temporary people. I got injured. at Amazon. And then what they started doing is I started talking to a lot of people who were injured. So anybody who worked near me, they wanted to move them because they knew I was organized. I was told by a guy that was in HR who was once with us that anything happened to me, I did any interviews or anything, they would report back to management. And they said, well, you was talking to that girl, do you know who she is? And they were actually keeping up with my movements. But once I got injured, they saw that I flipped a lot of people, especially, you know, the other color. A lot of them didn't want to support us, even if it causes them not to get anything. They didn't want to do it because it was us.
That's right.
And a lot of them changed their minds after I talked to them, and they said, well, I'm glad that you're back here. I'm not saying that because you're injured, but I would have never talked to you, according to what Amazon has told us. So they fought a notorious campaign, and they paid a lot of money. And Amazon is not the only one that's doing it, all other companies.
That's right.
And we ran a second election. Well, they broke laws again. Well, the first one they found that they broke a lot of laws. We found a lot of ULPs in the second one. So we got awarded another union run. The second one, we just finished that one. They draw the courts out. We finally got an answer that without counting the remaining 500 ballots, that we get another rerun election because Amazon broke the law. Good. How much is it gonna take for us to keep filing ULPs, keep filing charges, and Amazon only put money on the table and gets away with it and break the law again? Not just them, but all of them.
That's right.
The labor laws are so weak that all they have to do is put money on the table and say, and then next time for another election, they're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna keep, so we're
cahoots with them.
wasting time sitting, okay, well, y'all rerun again, so now when are we gonna rerun? Is it tomorrow? No, we'll let you know. Now the company can build another campaign to fight against us again, so we need to fight for stronger labor laws. I got fired. I did get fired. I'm gonna say this last thing, I got fired. I filed charges against them. I did a appeal with Amazon. They brought me back the following week. But when I got back, they sent me an email and told me to come back. When I got back, my badge went on. They said, well, who told you to come back? I said, here's the email. That they overturned the decision and brought me back to work. Well, come on in. So when the went to try to clock in, said this person is inactive. I went to HR. They said, well, you're on medical leave. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I got terminated, but I was rehired back because they made a mistake. So they say. Well, look at the computer. The computer says that you put yourself on medical leave. I said, no, I didn't. A leave of absence. And I said, well, I went back to the medical. She said, oh, you're Jennifer, such and such is waiting on you. Tim will be here in a little bit. And he said, oh, well, they put you on leave of absence because the accommodation that you had last week before you got fired, we don't know if we can still use the same accommodation that us. We only had it 2 weeks. I was working in that position, which is a regular job, before you fired me. So you put in the news that you gave me my job back, but when I got there, you sent me back home. Or we put you on medical leave until you're fully released. The laws are weak. And that's why we continue to fight. They dismissed my case and said that they can't put it on me being part of the union, the reason why they did it. But I still have the disability case. Because they keep denying my ability to come back to work. Even with the documentation.
Retaliation.
And one important thing that I would tell all of you, and tell your colleagues, anything you do as far as talking to management or in the office with your medical, always have them on record.
That's right. And have a witness.
I record everything, and I taught a lot, even the other color. I taught them. They come and ask me, record everything. When they talk to you about something, respond
Record
with an email.
That's right.
Tell them to email you, because that's what helped me. I have a strong case because I have all of my emails and they didn't know that I had
Documentation,
them.
that's
Where
right.
they told me not to come back
Documentation.
until I was fully released. They tried to lie, but I had the documentation. The labor board said, okay, well, yeah, she has a case, but they went back on that word, and so when Amazon said they do everybody like that. So,
That doesn't make it right, though.
keep your emails and always respond back.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Woo! Oh, my goodness.